Please join me in welcoming Dr. Sharma to Berkeley.
Nautanki Kalata using PowerPoint, huh? Namaste, everybody. Hello. Hi. Vasudhaji has made my task simpler. Oh, this is better?
Yeah.
So, okay, so I belong to a long tradition of Nautanki artists. My father, Pandit Devendra Sharma, is very well known. In fact, one of the most renowned actors of Nautanki in northern India, from a school called Swami Khera Gharana. I grew up performing Nautanki with him in small villages and towns in India. And whenever I give my introduction, my first introduction as a Nautanki Kalakar, I always go back to India and perform at least 2 times in a year. So here I'm to talk about Nautanki. It's thrilling, it's exciting, but I don't know where to start and where to finish. I do have a PowerPoint, but that doesn't mean anything, right? I can talk about Nautanki the whole day, but how much time do I have? 20 minutes, right? I guess 20 or 25 minutes. Okay, you can stop me by saying enough, right? Shows the performance, because I know you're more excited to watch the performance rather than the lecture. But I'll just give you a summary of what Nautanki is so that you feel a part of it, right? Do you recognize this lady? Yeah, who recognizes? Who's it? Vipasha? Who? Vipasha Basu. Who is Vipasha Basu? Bollywood actress. Do everybody know about Bollywood, right? So Vipasha Basu is a Bollywood actress, and now in this photograph, she is supposedly doing Nautanki. Okay. And this is a still from a movie called Omkara. Have you seen Omkara, anybody? Yeah. Right? This is the item number, this is a spicy dance that was coined as like Nautanki, right? And that is unfortunately what Nautanki's definition has become to ordinary people, right? Whenever you say Nautanki, even to Indians, they will say, oh, Nautanki means like something vulgar, maybe something cheap, right? Or something spicy, hot, which is fine. I mean, spicy hot is good, right? But Nautanki is not all about spicy dance numbers. And that's why I started with this. Nautanki is not an obscene or a cheap dance number or an item number in a Bollywood that people think. And that's why I will go on and explain what actual Nautanki is. Okay? So this is from an actual Nautanki. A little different from Vipasha, right? That lady on the left. The Nautanki is an operatic form of northern India. So all dialogues are sung. Have you been to Western opera? Right? It is similar. People who have never seen Nautanki, they can imagine Western opera. It is similar in the sense that everything is sung. But it is also very informal. So the formal part, if you minus the formal part of Western opera, right, and introduce a lot of fun, informality, audiences speaking in between the performances and saying, hey, we want this number, or hey, we want this song, or please go on, please, once more, and the actors will stop and do it again, right? So that kind of fun plus singing the storyline, that is Nautanki. And it goes on usually for more than 8 hours. So it starts at around 10 p.m. and it finishes when the sun rises. And you sing the whole time. So I have seen my father, I always used to sit on the stage with my father. It is so informal, right? So, oh, he's my son, yes, he will stay on the stage, right? And he's a big star, so nobody's saying anything, right? So I used to stay on the stage and I used to be awake the whole time, and it was so fun. I have seen people in the audiences not letting others go to bathroom so that, if they stand up and the commotion that it creates, they didn't want that. They were so much into it. Just like, sit, you're not going anywhere. Of course, after 10 minutes, like that person had to go. So don't take it literally. There are different names of Nautanki, as Professor Dalmia said. People call Nautanki Swan, that's the older name. Of course, Nautanki. And then also Bhagat. Bhagat are religious Nautankis. Nautanki is the same kind of singing, same genre, same type of singing, but the theme changes from secular to religious. And there are many Bhagats that happen in Mathura and Vrindavan. You have heard of Mathura Vrindavan, right?
Yeah.
The birthplace of Krishna. Every year my father goes, even now, to perform in a Bhagat, and I also sometimes accompany him. And also Sangeet, which literally means musical. So that's the Hindi word for musical. So people refer to Nautanki by various names, and audiences range from few hundreds to 50,000, more than 50,000. So only thing I can compare this with is the rock shows, maybe, right? Woodstock Festival or something like that, right? That you have so much crowd. But this happened only after microphones came, right? So 50,000, there's no way you could throw your voice to 50,000 people if there were no microphones. But pre-microphones also, there were like thousands of people. And my father has sung pre-microphone age, and he would throw his voice to at least a mile. Yes. In the night, when everything is quiet and you're singing, it would carry so far. And he had this voice culture. He would cross the harmonium. Do you know about harmonium? You will see it soon. Harmonium is kind of a keyboard. So he will cross all the notes. His voice will go above and beyond harmonium, that keyboard. So that kind of voice culture, these people used to develop. So they used to go to a well. Do you know well, where you get water from, right?
Yeah.
So they will go to a well, a nearby well, to a village, and then they will sing. They will go like this. They will put their mouth inside the well, right, from the top, and they will riyaz or do practice for hours to develop that voice culture. Because it reverbs, right, the sound. So it's a very good place to do riyaz. The roots of Nautanki go back to Prithviraj Chauhan's time. And Vasudhaji very rightly pointed out in the late 19th century, because chap books, those books with the script of Nautanki plays came out. Because printing press was introduced in India in 19th century by British. So after that, of course, the history became clear of Nautanki. Right? You could see the actual scripts. But even before that, it was performed for a long time. And I have talked to many scholars of Nautanki, and the tradition says that it goes at least to Prithviraj Chauhan, where when Alha was written, another folk form. And even before that, people think that it was being practiced. But this was the major art form, right? There was no Bollywood, so it was Nautanki everywhere. This was the major art form, entertainment form of Northern India. You can see a chapbook, a Nautanki script. These started to be published in 1920s, but they continued till 1980s actually. They were in demand. You can see the date in the bottom right. It says 1986. Yeah, this was a reprint, of course, of 1920s script. This is how it looked inside. This is actual Nautanki script with all the compositions. But there's no, you would see that there's no music written, there's no score. The score was passed on from one generation to another just orally. So you had to go to a guru, like all other Indian music, right? Even now, like you want to learn classical, you have to go to a guru, right? So not much written, and I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to write a book where I can actually give scores. So that people, our generations, later generations can actually read them and sing Nautanki. Parsi theatre that Professor Dalmia was referring to, Parsi theatre was urban theatre that developed in late 19th century and also early 20th century. It borrowed a lot from Nautanki, and it was very popular in cities. And Nautanki also got something from it. So this is a Parsi theatre script. And you can see, I mean, the themes are very similar. The Nautanki was about Ala Udal, Indal Haran, and the first one was Sati Savitri. All these legends, right, mythological stories. Sati Savitri, Satyavan Savitri, have you heard anyone? Right, okay. This is about Laila Majnu, this Parsi theatre, written by Munshi Dil, very famous Parsi theatre writer. So there were these similar art forms, well, not very similar, but they were exchanging a lot with each other. Right? Maybe I'm going into too much detail, but I thought it might be interesting. So again, I have said this all-night performance, Nautanki used to perform, like in Shakespeare time, like theatre used to go for many hours, right? And there used to be interludes in between, where a comic character will come in and do something. In the same way, Nautanki will go on, the main storyline will go on for 8 hours, and in between there will be interludes where a joker will come in and do something funny, make fun of the authority. So whoever the authority is, like in Sultana Daku, the authority is the British police officer who's trying to catch Sultana Daku. So I really like what Dr. Catherine Hansen has done in her book. She has used Bakhtin's theory. And Bakhtin, this famous scholar, analyzed medieval Europe's carnival. And he said that in carnival, what used to happen was that people would dress up somebody as the king. And then they will mock the king. They will like put like a black paint or something, throw something on him, and because they were so, I mean, this was anger, right? This was their angst against the king, against the authority, and they will use that space of carnival where nobody can touch them. This is carnival. This is like Holi of India, right? Everything is good. So in Nautanki plays, usually they do like this. They make fun of the authority. And you know, Nautanki is for rural people. So when you are disempowered at many levels, you get great satisfaction out of the performance. Right? So when you see a British police officer, which was being mocked in public, made fun of, how many times could you actually do it in colonial India? Right? I mean, it was so hard to do that. Right? He was out there. Huh? So Nautanki was really, in that sense, represented ordinary culture. It gave a window to people to express themselves. And of course, it was a lot of entertainment also. Major styles of Nautanki singing are connected to major towns in northern India. So Hathras is one town, and Hathrasi Nautanki is very much, is very powerful singing. Right? Then Kanpur is another town in northern India. Kanpuri singing is not that powerful, but it is quick and light. And it also has some spoken dialogues in between introduced. Hathrasi is all singing. Then my own gharana, Swami Khera Gharana. And Swami Khera Gharana was different from other gharanas in the sense that it first used to do Ras Leela or Krishna Leela, right? Because my village is very near to Vrindavan. So we grew up in Brij Pradesh, or Krishna's place. So we were all the time like, you know, Krishna was living inside us. So we grew up in this gharana where we would do Ras Leela first. Then we will stop. And then the whole night, the secular Nautanki would take place. With all the spicy themes, right? And also like Sultana Daku, local heroes or legends or mythology, all those things. Instruments are dholak, harmonium, nakara, and clarinet also. Are you kind of shocked? This is what, like, you know, colonialism do for you, right? I mean, you know, there's some interaction. And India has been interacting with other cultures for, I don't know how long, like for thousands of years. So we learn from others, right? So clarinet is such a good addition, I can tell you. In many of All India Radio, the national public radio in India, you would hear Nautankis with clarinet, and they sound so good. I'm not using clarinet today, but clarinet is used. Okay, this is nakara, the percussion instrument that is played in Nautanki. And you can see there are two drums. One is the bass drum, and the bigger one, and the smaller is for the higher pitch. On the right hand side you see the small one, and the left hand side is the big one, and you play them with sticks. And unfortunately, we could not find nagara. We do have dholak today, but no nagara. So guys, this is authentic Nautanki, but please, there are few things that we could not find in California. So, so please pardon us for that. Okay, this is my drawing, so please, sorry. It's not, maybe not very clear. But you see the stage. I've tried to depict the space, Nautanki space. You can see the stage, those little cute figures there, right? Small. And then you can see it's an open air stage with all these crosses representing audiences. So audiences everywhere, but you can see they're segregated in a way. Female audiences are towards on one corner, and then you see the major part is male audiences, and children are sitting in the front. And then people are also sitting on the rooftops, they are on treetops, wherever they can find space. It used to be packed, very informal, but at the same time people used to be quiet when performance happened. So they could listen, yeah?
Was segregation decent as well for women and male?
No, say that again?
The segregation between the men and the women, was it always the case?
Yeah, it was almost always the case.
Even
Yes.
recently?
Even recently, yes, in villages. Why? It is not because that, well, women themselves thought that they might be rowdy, and, the males are, this is an 8-hour performance, and they're going to be like spicy songs in the Nautanki. Just imagine yourself in the middle of, among men, right? Who are making all these, comments and all that. So women themselves sometimes think, hey, let's keep away from them, right? So it's for various reasons, and also in the traditional Indian society, in village society, there is some separation, like, in public, we want to sit separate. This is the real Nautanki stage. This is kind of close up. It's not very clear, but you can get an idea, right? And this is happening, this is a bhagat, a religious Nautanki happening in Vrindavan, pretty recently. The challenges. So Vipasha Basu, where she's coming from, right? This is actual Nautanki happening. This is very recent. Yes, this is only last year. Now, because of, I don't know, this is a question of like, who came first, chicken or the egg, right? Did Bollywood spoil Nautanki, or Nautanki spoiled Bollywood? That's the question, right? But I think even 50 years back, you would be surprised to know there were no women artists on stage on Nautanki. Even women parts used to be done by men, right? Only in last 30 or 40 years, or maybe a little more than that, when Gulabai came on stage in, I think, early 50s, a very famous women artist, female artist. Before that, all female parts were done by men. So there was no question of Bipasa Basu, right, doing a spicy number. It's only last 30, 40 years, and Nautanki people say it is because of Bollywood, actually. Because slowly Bollywood is reaching villages, small towns, right? And everybody is getting influenced by Bollywood. And when they see Nautanki, youngsters particularly, they say, hey, we want that number, oh, that number, And Nautanki artists have to oblige. Because it's such a struggle for existence. You can understand. When everybody can rent out a CD of Omkara for $10, 10 rupees, which would be like, 10 cents or something, right? Then who cares for Nautanki, which goes on for 8 hours, and then you have to contribute so much money to artists and sit there, maybe in cold, right? So what's wrong with a CD and then you see Vipasha Basu? So Nautanki artists recently, what is happening is they have modified or adapted to the changing conditions. Not all though. I mean, people like my father and other people who were big artists, they still do real Nautanki, but they can afford to do real Nautanki. Which means that they are not really into Nautanki for money, right? But people who are there still for money, for existence, they have to modify and they have to adapt. So I think, so this is I think a 15-year girl who's dancing on stage, who's doing a Bollywood number. And I was there, so I could see how people were demanding, like, hey, once more, that was so good, and once more, and they will stop this main storyline. And they say, hey, let's stop that main storyline. Let's see this number, and then only. And sometimes for hours, they don't come back to the main storyline. See how informal it is. Can you see this? Audience totally controlling the performance. So this is happening more and more, but this is not because of Nautanki's, I think. It's not Nautanki's influence on Bollywood. It is coming from Bollywood to Nautanki. And we are trying, actually, my father has written many, and there are some other artists who are writing new Nautankis. So we just did a Nautanki on HIV/AIDS in Bihar, one of the northern Indian states. Why not? I mean, why can't we write on contemporary themes? And we are using the same meters, same tones, same tunes, same songs. Not same songs, but same style of singing, right? So this is Nautanki, except it has now have new themes. So we have written on dowry. You know about dowry, right? We have written about environment. We have written about HIV/AIDS. And in fact, this was sponsored by United Nations. So UNAIDS, though that was kind of a limiting factor because then they come with their own agenda also. But what I'm saying is there is a much need to write on new themes, and new audiences want new themes. So Nautanki is still living. I'm not saying Nautanki has died, but it is under so much pressure and it is kind of struggling with how to survive. And I think this is one of my responsibilities because I'm the youngest generation of Nautanki artists. And what I'm doing is I do every 6 months a show of Nautanki in California. So I think now we have some audiences, and our audience is increasing, and you will see. Again, so now I'll stop, but two things. One is we don't have Nakara, right? So the rhythm will sound a little different. And the second thing is, none of these artists are actually Nautanki artists. I'm the only one who is a traditional Nautanki artist. All these artists are actually engineers and software engineers, right? Bay Area, right? Or doctors or other professionals. So they have take out some time from their very busy schedule, and they have worked with me for months to learn this art form. So they are going to do their best, and you will hear the authentic tunes and everything. But just keep in mind, they are not professional Nautanki singers.